Leon? Leon?
Been a long time, comrade.
You there, Leon?
Yeah. Hey, over here. FBI, what are you doing here?
Would you like to see what's hidden under the hood?
Don't do anything stupid.
Me? Never.
All right, it is now 100% official. Leon S. Kennedy is going to be featured in Resident Evil 6. And I think this is something that many fans already kind of felt was going to be the case just based off of the way that Capcom was acting towards his character when they were saying things like Leon was originally going to be the main character for Resident Evil 9, but characters like Leon don't do good with survival horror, so they took him out. And they were just really focusing specifically on Leon's character during that time, to the point that I think a lot of fans already sort of felt like he was going to eventually show up at some point. But now it is official. With the most recent trailer, we have seen that Leon is going to be in this game, and it's an exciting time because this is the first time that we have got to see another legacy character post Resident Evil 6 that wasn't named Chris Redfield. And so that's a really cool thing. Obviously, we have seen other legacy characters beyond the events of Resident Evil 6, but it wasn't for the games, it was for the CG movies like Vendetta and Death Island, where we got to see characters like Leon, Jill, Rebecca, and Claire. But this right here is the first time that we've gotten to see one of those characters in the games, and so that's just a really exciting thing to really think about. And, you know, despite being 50 years old, Leon still has the moves as if though he was still in his prime. You know, he goes from parrying chainsaws in Resident Evil 4 to just straight up taking the chainsaw from the enemy and using it against them in this game. And so it's a really cool time to be a Resident Evil fan. I was already excited for this game to begin with. Now that Leon is confirmed, I'm even more excited. So definitely looking forward to what they have in store for his character. I have seen where some people have kind of broken down the trailer and discussed things, and it does appear as though Leon is infected in some sort of way. And if that is in fact the case, that's going to be interesting to see where they kind of take that and go with it. I highly doubt that it's going to lead to Leon dying. I know there's a lot of theories revolving around that right now, that he's going to die in this game. You know, his story, it began in Raccoon City and now it's going to end in Raccoon City, and that very well could happen. But we've seen this before where Capcom has talked about the idea of killing off a legacy character, but they always end up getting cold feet. Like in Resident Evil 6, Chris was originally going to die in that game, but then they ended up switching it up with Pierce dying instead. And even Resident Evil 8, there was theories all over the place that Chris was going to die in this game because it's his story that's going to come to an end, and then it turned out to be Ethan. So could they kill Leon in this game? Sure, it could happen. I'm just doubtful, especially when you consider the fact that Leon is literally the poster child of the franchise and one of the major faces of the franchise. And so killing him off would just be a bold move if they were to do it. Not impossible, but it would be very bold. But we'll just have to wait and see what they end up planning to do. And it also appears that Leon is going to have a much bigger role in Resident Evil 9 than what Chris had in both 7 and 8. Whereas Chris had the DLC edition in Resident Evil 7, not a hero, and in Resident Evil 8 he had a small portion at the end of the game where he was playable. It seems as though Leon is going to have a much bigger role right here in Resident Evil 9. Now, to what degree, we don't really know yet, or at least I haven't seen anything myself. Maybe it's going to be a scenario system where there's a Grace scenario and a Leon scenario, similar to what Resident Evil 2 did with Leon and Claire. Or they could do something where the first half we play as Grace, and then towards the second half of the game we play as Leon, similar to what they did with Code Veronica, where Claire is the main character for the first half, and then Chris steps in for the second half and he takes over. So maybe that's something they end up doing. So who knows what could happen there, but it does appear that Leon is going to have a much larger role in this game, and that's exciting. And, you know, who knows, maybe some other legacy characters could show up. The one in particular that I would love to see would be none other than Ada Wong, because she's the one legacy character that we have yet to see past the events of Resident Evil 6 in any sort of media. We haven't seen her in any CG movie, and we haven't seen her in any of the games past Resident Evil 6. The only thing that she's ever gotten is some concept art for Resident Evil 8 where they talked about possibly adding her, but then they never did. So maybe, possibly, they will take that concept art from 8 and transfer it over to Resident Evil 9. Maybe she ends up finding a cure to save Leon. Who knows, but there's a lot of potential here, and even if no other legacy characters show up, it's just great to see Leon. What are your thoughts on all this? Are you excited that Leon's in the game? Were you kind of hoping that the legacy characters would just kind of sit this one out and Grace could take over the whole thing? Let me know your thoughts on this. I will see you all in the next one. See you then.